Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. And today we have with us Vidal Espinosa, who is the founder and principal partner at Invictus Advisors. Vidal, welcome to the program.
Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for having us.
Hey, you're welcome. And it was really looking forward to talking to you because I know you've got a heart and a passion for helping entrepreneurs, small business owners. And I think that's just, we could probably go for 9 hours straight on the backbone of the American economy is built upon, small business and entrepreneurs. But I just really like to see when businesses like yourself are focusing on that. So give us a little bit of background on yourself and what led you to become the founder of Invictus Advisors, and what do you do? What do you focus on?
Oh, well, I am Hispanic. I was born in the U.S. and raised in Mexico, Tijuana, a border town. Maybe some of your listeners have heard about Tijuana. We're a border town with San Diego, California, and all my family has been entrepreneurs all their lives. So I was brought up at an entrepreneurial household. So I think it was expected for me to be an entrepreneur. And all my life, as I remember, I've been doing things on my own. My dad was an accountant, so I became an accountant. I got my degree in accounting, and I got 2 masters in Loyola University and IPADE in Mexico. So then after I finished, I started my own practice in accounting and business consulting. So I've been doing this for over 22 years now.
Wow.
And our focus is helping small business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs get off the ground. Because what we've noticed and what we call it here in their office, it's entrepreneurs don't know the dark side of business. They do know their product, they know their service, but they don't know what they're getting into. They think they're getting into freedom, they think they're getting into tons of money, and they're going to be able to do whatever they want. They're a little bit not right there.
Well, that's funny you should say the dark side of business because as we're recording this episode, the new episode of Star Wars comes out in a few weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. And the dark side is always something that is like, wow, that's the thing you want to stay away from. And in reality, there's a psychological principle. I forget the exact term, but it's called you don't know what you don't know. And I think that there's a lot of entrepreneurs that really experience that because once you start working with someone externally like yourself that can point out some areas and take that flashlight and shine it on the dark side or the dark section of the business, all of a sudden they see it, they realize it, and they realize, I didn't have any clue that was a thing. So tell us a little bit about what you focus on when you start working with a company to help shine some light on those dark patches in their business.
What we focus is helping them read their numbers. And what we've noticed is that most entrepreneurs don't have numbers. They just have a bank account, and they based everything on their bank account. So we don't expect for them to have financials. We don't expect from them to know how to read a financial statement because most of them have never seen one, and they don't know. So based 100% on what you just said, they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
So the first thing is that we grab everything from them. We take all their bank statements, their receipts, their credit cards, and we dump everything into reports. Again, I don't expect from the entrepreneurs to know how to prepare them, to make them, nor to read them. That's what we're here for. Yeah. We translate that foreign language to their language. Plain and simple. We can pinpoint areas where they might be thinking that they're making money. We have also another saying in the office, everybody's broke and they don't even know it. They might be driving around on a Mercedes, but guess what? Your bank account is always in negative. You have no revenue, or you're spending more of what you're bringing in.
Yeah.
So because there's money at the end of the month in their bank account, they think that they're making money. They're making profits. And sometimes most of the times, we identify that they're actually not.
Well, I think that a lot of times people would, like what you just mentioned, say, oh, I'm good to go, I'm good. And thinking of the analogy of the bucket with holes in it, they feel like, hey, just tell me how to pour more water in that bucket. I need more money. I need more cash flow. But the problem is you can pour as much money as you want into that increased cash flow into that bucket. But if you've got too many holes in there, it's going to flow right back out. So I know that's what you're saying, but what do you find is some of the more obvious places that you will look to plug up those holes to make sure they're retaining more of their money and being more successful?
It's very interesting because what we will look first, it's their meals and entertainment expenses. I would look first on their auto expenses, on their lease expenses, on their utilities, because they've heard that because they have a business, they can run all those expenses through their company or through their business account. So what they're doing is they're running all their living expenses because it's deductible. The first thing I tell them is forget about whether it's deductible or not. Separate your life from your business because you're just commingling operations, transactions. Your life, it's not your business. Your business, it's not your life. So the first thing we do is open 2 bank accounts. One for all your incoming, your revenue, and another one for your expenses. And that's on top of your personal checking account. You must be on a salary. You must be on a fixed amount from your company. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to measure, and you must be measuring your growth.
Well, and the other thing, too, is, isn't it true, then we're not going to get into giving specific legal or tax advice, of course, but isn't it true that when you are having commingled funds, that does raise some other red flags in some compliance issues? So it's more than just convenience and keeping things clear. It's protecting yourself and your business, too.
Correct. If you have a legal entity, and if you commingle funds, then you open yourself to a can of worms, being, first of all, you lose your corporate bail. So therefore, any debt that you have acquired through your entity, you become legally responsible personally. And if the IRS was to audit your entity and you have commingled funds, they now are able to audit your personal tax return. So that's a huge problem.
Yeah, sure is. So let's think about something. We're talking about entrepreneurs, business owners, and how you're helping them. And I mentioned you don't know what you don't know. So they're just happily going along thinking everything's just fine. What are some things that could pop up or some red flags that are triggers that an entrepreneur or business owner might recognize that could lead them to say, maybe I could benefit from getting some outside financial, tax, CFO type help, because I think that they open up their store or their business for the day or their computer, and they're answering emails, they're dealing with clients, and things are just flying by 1,000 miles a minute. But what are some things they should watch for?
The first things that they should watch for is do a list of all the tasks that you do during the day, and then separate the tasks that are generating you revenue or will bring you revenue. All the others, outsource, delegate, or forget about them. Accounting and taxes should not be in your to-do list, as well as human resources.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to be a pretty bigger company. I've got a client now that has approaching 90 or 100 employees, and they've got an in-house HR department. But until you get to in that level, I think that you've got to think about HR and compliance and even taxes, bookkeeping, and things like that. you've got to outsource that to someone that knows what they're doing. And, you think about what subject in school did you get C's in? And then what subject did you get A's in? Well, the C subjects are things that you really struggled, and even if you tried to get it up to a B or an A minus, it would just be horribly hard. But that A subject, boy, if you focused on that, you could be extraordinary. So what is the highest and best use of your time? And notice what you can do to move things out of your time constraint into an external perspective. And that's where a company like yourself would come in. So I think talk a little bit about that perspective from the outside, that you're not missing the forest for the trees kind of a thing.
It's interesting because you talked about cash flow. And most entrepreneurs struggle with their cash flow. They don't know where their next income is going to come from, where their next check is going to, whether it's going to bounce or not. So if you focus on bringing revenue to your company, everything else is going to flow. Everything else is going to flow. Just by us looking at your bank statement and doing some little analysis on your numbers, we can help you identify where you're draining money, and that money can be allocated towards services or paying for services like ours, or human resources, or things like that. We can also help you strategize to save taxes. But as you say, hire somebody that is knowledgeable, that has experience. Just don't go and get $100 advice or $100 for a year. You're going to get what you paid for.
Yeah.
Trust me. You're going to get what you paid for.
That's a really good point, because I think a lot of people think, let's go Google it. And let's go find an answer to this question or that question, or, let's write a business plan or a marketing plan, and they go download a template and fill in the blanks. But the problem is there's hours and hours of thought that should go into each and every section or question of that business plan, and you cannot just find a template and fill it out. So the same would go with your numbers. You might have a question about your numbers in your business and find some answer online, but is that the best one for your business? And when you have that outside party like yourself, you come in and over the phone or in person and ask questions and get that 360-degree perspective, you're going to get way more value than the cost that you have to write a check for. And I literally, last night is really interesting, I was listening to a training from Bob Berg. Have you ever heard of him or read his books, the Go-Giver series?
No.
He teaches on giving value, giving more value than what you even get paid for. And he was making the comparison of literally an accountant, and he says the accountant might charge X number of dollars, and you're going to get Y. Here's the tax return. But the extra value that you will get from having that outside person is that tip and that strategy and that way to save something in the future is going to be far more than that check you have to write them for that one transaction. So speak a little bit about the extra value that you watch for when you work with your clients that sometimes they miss altogether.
As an entrepreneur myself, I value the information that my mentors and coaches give me. I've been in business for 22 years. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting. I have 2 master's degrees. But every year we hire or continue hiring our mentors and coaches. We have 3 mentors and coaches, and we listen to all of them. They create plans, blueprints for us, because otherwise I don't know everything. I don't know what I don't know. The most important thing that I do with our clients is I sit with them at least once a quarter and review those numbers. But the meeting for those numbers only takes 10 or 15 minutes, because the other 45 minutes from our meeting, it's about their business. What are their problems? How are they suffering? What's going on in their business? And we strategize and give them blueprints on how to solve those issues. Most of them don't have mentors or coaches. They see us as their mentor or as their coach. and their growth has been amazing. So if you're not seeing your accountant at least twice a year, there's something wrong. If you're only seeing your accountant at the end of the year, and then whoever prepares your tax return on April 15th, you are never going to grow your business to where you want to grow it.
You bring up a huge piece about mentor, and you could say that the bread and butter, the foundation is doing your numbers and your taxes. That's just the start. But what sets us apart is mentoring and the knowledge and the intellectual property that we bring to the relationship. And I think that's something that too many entrepreneurs and business owners will overlook. So if someone is out there looking for a financial, tax, bookkeeper, CFO type resource like yourself, tell me a couple questions that they should be asking, because certainly they're not going to just speak to one person and say, you're hired. They're going to talk to a couple, three people. So if you're in that mix and they're talking to other people, what are some questions that they should be asking when selecting a good tax and financial advisor for their business?
What's your experience in my industry? That would be the first one. How many times am I going to meet with you? Not your team, with you. Okay? And how often are you going to send me my numbers?
That's good.
So, regardless of whether you know them or not, or you understand them or not, how often am I going to get my numbers? At least pretend that you're reading your financials and you understand. Like most families have a pretend doctor that when you get an x-ray, they pull it out and they try to see the x-ray. And even though they don't know anything, they're just looking at the x-ray from their relatives. Just do that with your financials. You might have questions and pop up and send them an email to your accountant and say, hey, can you explain to me this number or something like that?
Yeah, that's such a big thing. Is what your experience in my industry, because if you just do, air quotes, just do numbers and taxes and bookkeeping, there could be some nuances that preparer would miss out on if they don't know the real inner workings of your industry. So have you ever had a time where you noticed that a new client came in, they worked with someone before that was not familiar with their industry, and you were able to uncover things? What would that look like?
Commingling or mixing personal expenses with business expenses. All together, because they were reconciling or they were matching the personal credit card into their numbers, but not all of them were for the business. So that was that. It was fun.
Yeah, that would be a big opportunity.
Accounting with bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is just dumping into a system your numbers, your bank statements, your transactions. An accountant is going to go through with a comb through those numbers and reclassify, eliminate, adjust what it belongs there. So just a simple bookkeeper will dump your numbers into a system, whether it's Excel, QuickBooks, Xerox, whatever it is.
But they don't know the story behind it. They don't know the goal, the end goal. Begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey used to say. And I think the same would go for some of these TurboTax type online programs. Let's just buy that this year and dump our numbers in there and hope for the best.
Stay away from those softwares.
Yep.
Even us who are in the industry, we are not 100% familiar with every single law and regulation.
Sure.
You are not, if you have a heart attack or you need open heart surgery, are you going to go to a cardiologist or are you going to do surgery on your own?
Yep. Let's hope that you're going to go to a specialist and say, please fix me. I don't want to worry about it.
I would hope so.
Yeah. And I think that peace of mind really comes into play. So let's wrap up, Vidal, with what's the best way that someone could reach out, connect with you, and just explore a little bit and ask you some of those questions and find out how you could potentially help their business.
It's very easy. They can reach us at 619-677-6512, and we can schedule a one-on-one consultation, either in person or over the phone, and we can see if we're a good fit for you guys.
Excellent. And I will also include your link to your website, Invictus-Advisors.com, in the show notes so that people can visit your website and learn a little bit more as well.
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It was really wonderful hearing about your business and getting to know you.
Mike, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.